Hey guys, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with a quick little discussion video for you. Today, I want to talk about something that hopefully you've already thought about, but sometimes we don't. And I would suggest that it's worth kind of going through this thought process for at least a little bit of time if you are into knives or thinking of getting into knives, all right? So probably most of you realize that when you have nice stuff, even when you have not that nice stuff, there's a certain cost that comes with maintaining that stuff. So if I remember having a friend in my college days who was able to get a really great deal on an Audi, and he thought this was the greatest thing ever. But turned out what happened was, whenever the thing needed a brake job or an oil change or any other work, it was so expensive that finally he had to sell the thing and buy like a Ford pickup. Okay. And not a Ford Ranger, which back in those days were like the little Rangers. Anyway, that story illustrates something that we don't always think about, and that is with nicer stuff, there can be a substantial cost of ownership. If you own a boat, you definitely know this. If you own a mountain bike, one of the things that I run into this all the time is I really like mountain biking, but as any of you know who've done it, when you have a high-end bike that has some higher-end components and you're riding it in difficult terrain that poses some challenges, that thing gets beat up and stuff breaks, and then you've got to replace it, and the replacement is not cheap. Depending on your skill level, you may have to pay a third party to do tune-ups on your bike, or to change the brake fluid, or bleed the brakes from time to time. All of this stuff begins to cost money, and you've got to either figure out how to do it yourself, which also has a cost associated with it, or you've got to pay somebody, which is a huge pain. And so when it comes to knives, the same thing is true. If you start getting into higher end knives, all right, at the start, if you've got, I think this is Nitro V, but at the start, if you've got some budget-friendly knives in Nitro V or, AUS 8 or even AUS 10 or, 154 CM even, you're probably fine getting a pretty good edge on them. Most of those steels, you're going to be okay. Even if your sharpening skills are not that great, you can have a budget. I remember for years, I used a $19 Lansky rod sharpener where you just put the rods into the 2x4 essentially. And it worked great for all of my budget knives and even some of my higher end knives. But eventually you get to a point where you've got to either reprofile something, or something gets really dull or it gets a chip and you've got to remove a lot of material, and man, that Lansky is just not cutting it. And so you've got to upgrade. So I've got a few knives here. This one is the Stang Blade Works Boardwalk. Absolutely adore this knife, but it's in 3V, which is nothing to sneeze at. I don't have an M4 blade here. This is S45VM, but it's pretty well heat treated. And so there are a few other knives. This is the Formax here is in 20CV. Certainly it's on the list of steels that can be a little tougher to deal with. And so because of that, there are a few things that I think might be worthwhile. And by the way, I don't think you need to go out and buy a Wicked Edge for $600 or $700. I don't think you need to buy like the highest end KME system. They're nice to have, and there are definitely some great enjoyable systems out there, but there are some things that might help you, and hopefully I'll be able to share a couple of those things with you in the next couple of minutes. First of all is just a strop. So a strop where you can regularly keep up your edges and make sure that you're getting some maintenance done with regularity will help you a lot, because it'll reduce the number of times you need to sharpen. It'll extend the performance of your knife, and it'll, even when you do put an edge on, you'll want to finish it with a strop to make sure, number one, you've got the burr off, to make sure that you've cleaned up that very fine apex of the edge a little bit. Definitely worth your time and energy to get a strop, and a strop is not expensive. Okay, You can make one yourself with a piece of leather that you find, or you can buy online. Or I think this strop might have been, it was definitely less than 20 bucks. Okay. There's lots of strops out there for very affordable prices. Spyderco Sharpmaker is a great fixed angle system that is fairly user-friendly. Now, you will probably find some issues with taking off a lot of material if you use this. It can be done. It's just going to take you a lot of time and energy. So I wanted to throw in something that I have had as sort of a backup plan from time to time. This is the Sharpall diamond plate, and this is really, really good. So we've got I keep it in the bag. I probably don't need to do that, but I just do. So you guys can tease me if you want to. I'm totally open with that. But we've got a coarse side, we've got a fine side, and the great thing about a diamond plate is it will take a ton of material. It really, really cuts well. And even very high-end steels are not going to stand up to it. And these are not expensive. All right. I think it was under $70 for sure. It may have even been under 60. All right. And if you're in the US, that might be even cheaper. But this is a decent diamond plate. A number of, I want to say I've seen Neves recommend this. I've definitely seen Outdoor 55 recommend this. So a couple of guys who do a lot of sharpening, stand behind this. And that's, I did a bunch of research before buying this. There are other ones available. There are definitely cheaper ones available, but they're not going to last as long. And I've got a couple around here somewhere. I just couldn't find them for this video. So this is a really helpful tool if you've got higher end steels, because it'll cut a lot off. If going to diamond plates in your whatever KME or TS Prof or any of your other, TS Prof might be a wheel, but anyway, in any system. And then I've got a 2000 grit stone here. This is ceramic. I would use this after I got my edge close to where I wanted it to be. I also have another whetstone here from Worksharp. This is pretty good. And you can see this is 1,000 and 6,000. So on the fine end of the scale at the very least. And so I share all of that with you just to say, if you're going to get into knives and you're going to enjoy some nicer high-end stuff, you're probably going to have to learn a little bit about sharpening, and you're probably going to have some gear that will allow you to do that. Now, as I was pointing out, so I went with, I showed you guys bench stones, because I think if you're willing to put in the effort to get good at it, it's a very affordable way to deal with these higher end steels, and one that I think it's a discipline that is worth developing, that is being good at sharpening your knives if you're going to be into knives. So there's my little discussion about the cost of owning knives and getting ready to be willing to put in the time and energy and money to be able to sharpen those really fancy steels that you've got, that we all enjoy. I hope that is helpful to some people. I know a lot of you out there will already know this stuff, and so I'm preaching to the choir. But if you're out there and you're struggling, especially with some of those nicer steels, some of those, especially the diamond plate, could be a huge help to you. So hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.